Welcome to the dinner Zoom lecture, which will be given by a very distinguished African, an African who is the toast of several generations, an African who speaks from the embers of his boys, an African who is very captivating, one man whom everybody would like to have in his home. We'd like to make welcome Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, our guest lecturer for today. Welcome to this event, sir. It is on this note, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, that I'd like to ask the chief steward, the chief servant of this university, the very short and amiable Vice Chancellor, Engineer Professor Edo State, to please give his opening remarks.
It is with great joy that I welcome you all to the 5th Founders Day lecture of Edo State University Uzairue. I welcome especially our dynamic governor and visitor to the university, Your Excellency Godwin Nogegase Obaseki. I want to specially appreciate our lecturer for this 5th Founders Day lecture, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, for accepting to deliver this 5th Founders Day lecture titled Modern Economic Slavery of African States. I'm confident that by the end of this lecture, the audience will be more enlightened on the economic policies of African states and the way to improve on them.
Let me make welcome in a special manner the man who is chairing this event today, the man whose level of knowledge has not only catapulted him to the Supreme Court, but a man whose service is recognized both in Nigeria and beyond Nigeria. Please join me in making welcome the chairman of today's event, Honorable Justice Samuel Ukudmei, JSC, to this event.
The resource person of distinguished repute, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, the distinguished Vice Chancellor, Edo State University Uzairue. At this stage, I want to say special thank you to the Vice Chancellor and his management team for the great stride that they have made in such a short time. We're talking about 5 years.
It is my privilege and honor, and indeed special right at this event of the 5th Founders Day lecture to present to you a gentleman and an officer of his family, an officer of his country, an officer of his continent, an officer of the world. Please make welcome Professor P.L.O. Lumumba.
Thank you very much. First, let me say how glad I am and how humbled I am to be invited to share my thoughts with you on the subject, modern economic slavery of African states, the way forward. It also is the opportune time for us to talk about the state of Africa. This continent to which we all belong, this continent which we keep saying decade after decade, year after year, century after century, is great in prospect. This continent which has suffered slavery, this continent which has suffered colonization, this continent that I dare say is going through the many multiple phases of the neo-colonial project. This continent which paradoxically is the richest continent on the face of the earth, and yet ironically is the poorest continent on earth. This continent which has produced some of the best men and women on earth, and yet on all indices of development continues to punch below her weight. Many a writer, many a thinker has spoken or written about the continent and posed the question, what is wrong with the continent that she continues to remain in what permit me to describe as economic, political, and social diapers when other continents have long taken off? All beautifully dressed Africans, even those in the assembly that I'm addressing, whether you are here virtually or you are here, you are there physically, I want you to assess yourself, and over 60% of the clothes that you wear are not made in Africa. Your shoes is made in Italy. The perfume that you are wearing, if it is not made in the United States, is from France. And if the women are wearing wigs, it is wigs that are made in Brazil or in India. Even hair is made elsewhere. That is how we are, which means that that money is going elsewhere. That is the neo-colonial project. And I'm submitting to us that that economic slavery is so deep. And you and me are so mentally captured, even if we do not know it. So mentally captured that our national inclination when we do well is that we want to have an apartment in London, England. If you are sick, you want to be taken to London, England. Your children will not, even if you are at the Edo State University, you will discover that even those who are listening to me now, you would prefer to go to Harvard and Cambridge and MIT, not Edo State University, no, not Unilag, not Dar es Salaam, not Cheikh Anta Diop University in Dhaka in Senegal, not Nelson Mandela University, Cambridge, Oxford. When the thieves in Africa steal money from their countries, they don't keep it in Africa. They keep it in different parts of the world, particularly in the United Kingdom. That is modern economic slavery. And I want to submit to us that the greatest culprits are not the men and women in Anambra, no. They are not the men and women in Luanda, Angola, no. Not the men and women in Nampula, in Mozambique, not the ones that are in Freetown, in Sierra Leone. It is you and me. You and me who have had the benefit of education. You and me who, courtesy of education, are presiding over institutions. You and me who are engineers. You and me who are lawyers and doctors and economists. We are Africa's greatest problem. And the day that we succeed in liberating ourselves, that is the day that the African economy will begin to grow, and to grow in a useful manner. Nigeria is Africa. The day Nigeria wakes up, Africa will never be the same again. 250 million plus, and I believe you Nigerians are undercounting yourselves. I believe you are nearly 300 million. If you want any of the best men and women anywhere in the world, you go to the United Kingdom. Who are the doctors there? It is Nigerians and Ghanaians and a sprinkling of other Africans. You go to the United States of America, the great man who performed an operation in utero was a Nigerian. In any area that you go in, you find Nigerians. The day that Nigerians make a resolve that we are going to make Africa great, that is the day that Africa is going to rise again.
At this point, we are going straight to our visitor, the governor of Edo State, His Excellency, Mr. Godwin Nogigase Obaseki, to speak to this gathering. Mr. Governor, sir, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. The Chancellor of Edo University Uzairue, Dr. Aderemi Abakojuola, the chairman of the occasion, Justice Sam Oseji. My Lord, I was looking out for you yesterday in Abuja, but I thank you very much for accepting to chair this event. Our special guest and speaker, the now legendary Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, the Vice Chancellor of our university, Professor Aluyo. Let me recognize and acknowledge all distinguished and eminent scholars and invitees to this year's Founders Day lecture, and also to commend the university, Edo University Uzairue, for organizing the 5th Founders Day lecture against the odds of a rampaging and ravaging impact of the coronavirus pandemic, which has tossed us all into a new normal. It is gratifying that the university has been able to respond to the current realities by hosting this Founders Day event virtually. I want to specifically thank our Vice Chancellor, Professor Emmanuel Aluyo, for his leadership, foresight, and innovation.